We all like using our gaming PCs to the best of their ability, so together today we're going over 8 PC gaming tips which you probably need to hear. If you're particularly into first-person shooters, I think you're going to like this one. By default, Windows enables mouse acceleration and it's pretty terrible. So to disable this, all you need to do is head to settings, mouse settings, additional mouse settings, pointer options, and then disable enhanced pointer precision. Now you can get accurate and repeatable mouse movement, and yeah, maybe it wasn't a skill issue when you were getting fragged in all those games, or maybe it was. However, you should be able to climb the ladder a little easier with mouse acceleration disabled. This one's a bit more technical, but you can improve both your GPU's temps and maybe even performance, and you can definitely reduce the power consumption with undervolting. This one's a bit more technical and you will need an application for this for most graphics cards, and it's called MSI Afterburner. And actually, a bit of a sub tip, just go out and install MSI Afterburner and hit the check mark or the check box for Riva Tuner. These are incredibly useful applications for both system monitoring and GPU tweaking. Every gaming PC should have them. Anyways, in MSI Afterburner, hit Control and F. This opens up the voltage frequency curve, and all you need to do is hold Shift and then drag the highest point down to your desired frequency. Select the node on your desired voltage and drag this up to your desired frequency. Hit the tick mark and there you go, undervolt applied. What I'd recommend now is stress testing in your favourite games, not just a synthetic benchmark, and then you can validate whether the undervolt is working totally fine, and if it isn't, just raise the voltage ever so slightly and you should be good to go. Once you've validated that your undervolt's stable, you can go ahead and save this and apply it on startup, so you don't need to do it every single time you boot up your PC. And if you want to see a full in-depth tutorial on how to properly undervolt your graphics card, let me know in the comments down below, and by subscribing, it does really help out. So that's a video which we can go over together. And speaking of crashing, this next tip may just help out with that. Sometimes, particularly with very bad ports, when they crash, they can hide Task Manager behind them and you'll have to restart your PC and such. But there's a way to stop this. If you go to your Task Manager, go to Settings, and then enable Always on Top, Task Manager will always be loaded above any single application which is running. So if there's a bad misbehaving app or game which has crashed, Task Manager will be above that and you can just end the task there with no issues. Also, an extra tip, in Windows 11 we can search for that application, so you don't have to sift through the entire list depending on how many programs you might have running. It might take you a while, but you can search for it in the newest version of Windows, which is a rare W for Windows 11, I guess. I think we can agree a pretty big issue in modern PC ports is their pretty lackluster performance, in particular with the 1% lows. And there's a way you can fix or maybe improve this by locking your frame rate. You can do this one or two ways. You can go into your GPU software like GeForce Experience and go into the 3D settings and put a blanket limit on every single game, or you can do it a better way with Riva Tuner. Here, all you need to do is click Add, search for your game's executable, add that, and then you just put the frame limit on there. This is a much better way, as the frame limit you set here is only set for that game in particular. So if you want a story game that is locked to 60 FPS, but you want to play competitive games as well and you don't want any frame limit, this is objectively the best way to limit your frame rate. And you can find out why locking your frame rate is kind of important in particularly bad PC ports in a video we made up here. Literally the loudest thing in my PC right now at idle is the hard drive, so yeah, maybe I might need to get rid of that soon. However, sometimes our games might need that little push to get acceptable performance, and a pretty decent way, depending on how old your system is by deleting bloat off of Windows. To do this, all you need to do is go to your settings, apps, and then install the apps, and then just delete any application which you don't use or you just don't need anymore. The performance benefits that you can get from this do vary on how old your system is and how many applications you have installed, but this is something I recommend keeping on top of. If there's an application which you don't use anymore, just uninstall it. It's less system resources that have to be allocated to that app for both the CPU and RAM. So depending on your processor and your memory, you might see some more improvements from this as well. But it's essentially basic sort of like digital hygiene, I guess, or digital management, just getting rid of old apps that you don't use. In-game quality presets set by the developer may at first seem like the most optimized, well, settings. However, 9 times out of 10, this isn't the case, as with some personalized settings tweaking, you can eke out quite a bit of performance with not a lot of visual cost. You don't have to do this manually, however, as there are plenty of videos on YouTube from the likes of Hardware Unboxed and Digital Foundry where they've painstakingly tested every single setting to give you the most optimized ones, which should give you a very good looking game but with very good performance as well. And this is one thing I absolutely recommend any PC gamer to do. Just play around with these settings, as most times the presets aren't really optimized that well, particularly on the higher end. Yes, I know over here we use presets while benchmarking, and purely because it's just easy to both explain and keep it consistent amongst different graphics cards and PC hardware configurations. But when we're playing games on the personal PC I've got here, yeah, like I tweak the settings all the time. But if these tweaks do not offer you enough performance, there is still upscaling. Yes, basically every single modern graphics card has this available to it, even like ones like this GTX 1080 Ti here. So what I'd recommend is, if you're after a bit more performance, particularly at higher resolutions like 1440p and 4K, you can start off with quality upscalers. Particularly with DLSS, if you've got an RTX graphics card, quality at 1440p and 4K can sometimes look better than native, especially if the game's got a horrible TAA implementation. So that's a bit of a win for upscaling, because it's kind of like free performance in a way. Do bear in mind, however, if you push upscalers past balance, particularly at 1440p and other lower resolutions, the image can start to fall apart, particularly with FSR from AMD. So you do have to keep this in mind. And if you're CPU bound in your game, upscaling's literally not going to give you any more performance, and if anything, it could probably harm performance a bit compared to improving it. And that's something you've got to check out for. And how to find out that you're CPU bound, this is a bit of a sub tip for you, but you can load up MSI Afterburner with Reaver Tuner, and it shows you how much of your CPU and GPU is being used. If your GPU is around below 90 odd %, you're more CPU bound in that case, and upscaling probably wouldn't net you any more performance. Sometimes we need to tab out of our games because that one friend on Discord will just not leave us alone. So to do this, all you need to do is hold down Alt and press Tab. What you do while you press Tab while holding down Alt is you cycle through the applications you have open. So if you need to get to Discord or your emails or whatever like that, you can cycle through it, and yeah, like Windows just shows you which is the app, because it's got like a little icon around it. You'll see it in the B-roll. And this is where the term tabbing out of a game comes from. And there's another useful shortcut in Windows, because if you just wanted to go straight to your desktop and you didn't need to cycle through that applications, just hit Windows and D, and this will show the desktop, because Windows and D for desktop. Get it? So hopefully we can all have a slightly better PC gaming experience, as it's the little things which count, right? Anyways, if you want to watch how we built the PC which we've been using in the demos for today's video, you can watch that in a video which we made up there. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.